Does that work?
If you just no, if you just exit the full screen, it will be okay.
Let me just try it again here. There we go.
All right, perfect.
Perfect. All right. My name is Martin Andersen. I'm the representative for Denmark here. And if people need to come get in touch with me, you got my info there and also at the end. So if we look at the milestone here in Denmark, if we start with the subcategory UAM and IM, we're still ongoing with our 3-year project called the Next Gen Robotics, and that is a collaboration between us and US Denmark, that is Denmark's drone center in Odense Airport, our operator, and university and so on. And the goals are still the same, to survey, investigate, evaluate, test, and report if and how AM will work in Denmark. We have, of course, some intermediate conclusions so far, due to how can you say society and public transportation, land-based transportation works in our part of the world. It doesn't look much like a UM market here because there's, especially in the larger city where UM should be able to get some market share, there's already very good land-based transportation from A to B. So it doesn't make much sense there. So we have to expand our knowledge or our scope and look at the more longer distance in the regional air market. And there is a prosperous opportunities there if we look on the eVTOL and eVTOL instead. Because one of the problems for um, eVTOL is that their projected price is just way too high. We're still looking at a twin engine helicopter uh, price per mile or per kilometer per passenger, and we don't have passengers in Denmark or in Scandinavian countries, I would also say, that will actually pay for that price because going from A to B on the land is still pretty efficient. But our NGR project has its limited scope, so we are already now looking into the starting up with our others and also already current partners, the new project that will enhance or enlarge the knowledge that we need to know more about AM in the Danish sector. But also another project that we see we probably need to know more about is weather forecast, and because current weather forecasts are projected for high altitude, and that's not where AM is running or is flying. It's going to be low altitude, and there's really no good public weather forecast for that area. But weather is a big topic to get a regular run for these smaller aircraft in our part of the world, especially during the winter time. So that's also why will want to put out a little shout out to eStore and EasyToll because I kind of find it lack of spotlight on them, and it's usually the all the top players in eVTOL that's getting all the highlights and all the headlines. And the problem for them is that they will, in the beginning, only be certified for day VMC and no icing condition, which we have, especially during the winter time. And also the certification history is still unknown. Quite opposite EasyToll and eStall, which is pretty much uh, would work quite well in our part of the world. But if you move on to the more unmanned part, that is also part of AM, then some headlines from our partner at US Denmark. They have seen a substantial increase in number of operations. 2025 looks like a 40% increase compared to 2024. A good mix of VLOS and BVLOS. They also have a huge airspace that they can close off for unmanned aircraft for testing out of the US Denmark's airport in Odense. 1,900 square kilometers or up to 3,000 if need be, and up to 3,000 feet of altitude if need be. There's a new drone strategy coming up from the Danish government that will look into how we can share airspace with unmanned and other users, be more focus or more articulation on AM and also on corridors for drones. Also, earlier this year, the Danish military has established a Danish defense drone center at US Denmark. So that is also a new part that was not 6 months ago. Oh, and also you can see on the map one of the Danish operators called WeFly. Has nothing to do with the Chinese one. They operate drones and they are quite busy, as you can probably see all those spots there, mainly in Denmark, but also a little bit in northern Germany and southern part of Sweden. If we look at events and public awareness or a spotlight of what happens, we recently just had Beta coming by a couple of times because they have been, as you probably all know, at the Paris Air Show, and they're transiting one of their eCTOLs up to Norway for further testing with Bristow's. And they went by a couple of airports, and despite that, there was limited access for only invited people. We were also out there at Copenhagen Airport, and not much invitation from the public. It got a lot of attention in different medias when they pretty much just came by and demonstrated a flyby and had a few speeches and then went on. For what we can resonate from that is one thing is to have press releases and we want to plan to do this and that and yada yada. When you suddenly got an airplane, physical airplane present at your marketplace where it might be able to fly, it suddenly get a much large amount of attention in the media and in the public. So that's a good thing. So when we see more airplanes coming in from other vendors as well, they should definitely expect a lot of possible publicity, possible and also positive ones. So we're looking much forward for that. Um, then we just recently has passed the International Drone Show in last month, and it was double the days. Instead of last time it was only one day, now it's 2 days, and double the amount of participants and exhibitors. And we also, along with our NGR 2.0 project partners, had a booth there, like a double one that articulated what is AAM, both in eVTOL and eSTOL and eCTOL, and we actually had like a board of, if you know, this kind of cards or card games, like playing card, but with small cars only had different kind of um, this car can go this fast, and then you can play with each other. They made the same thing with eVTOLs and eSTOLs, so they can kind of compare them aircraft to aircraft type. What are the pros and cons on the different ones? And in a couple of few weeks, we will do the same thing again, but just more targeted to the civilian visitors because drone show is purely professional people coming in there. But at the Roskilde Air Show, which is going to be the largest one ever for them, there's coming about 20,000 people in these 2.5 days, and we will also have the same booth there and talk and interact with the civilians and talk to them, and they can ask questions about what is AM and what is it good for, and should I be afraid of it? No, you shouldn't be, and stuff like that. And we will also be visited by both Veridian and Electro, who's making these chargers for aircraft, and also supported by Electra. Electro were also present at the drone show, as you can see written there, where they made a speech about the coming EN9 ultra stall airplanes, and also in the debate panel, as you can see those five faces in the middle, and Diana from Electra right behind there. So partial conclusions, well, actually the same slide as I showed in January back then, because it is the same. It still costs everything in our part of the world. If you want to get to mass market, you need to have a cost of flying people that the mass market will pay for it. And it's not going to be a twin engine helicopter or like budget. It has to be less than helicopter and more like an airplane cost. And as long as eVTOL can't get down to that price, it's going to be a niche part, just like helicopters here. So that's why we see that the eSTOL and easyTOL, which in our budgets can match those prices per mile per passengers as were depicted in the old 2016 Uber Elevate report. And the challenges are still get the message out, articulate all this to the people. We go out to any kind of vendor or events and stuff like that. It doesn't matter if it's private or public to articulate what is AM and what is coming and so on and so forth. And the very important thing that we also talk about or say is be transparent. Don't promise anything that you can't hold. So otherwise, you're just going to get a wish black or getting that in your head again. That was just those 5, 6 minutes I hope you only took from me.